Goel sir came to Assam, and in a meeting there, he delivered a lecture and appeal and gave us the importance of bringing the young blood to our society. And now his dream has come true. So I must thank Brother Pradeep Mahapatraji, Brother Shikhar Agnihotri, Sister Catalina for this marvelous work. So at the same time, I congratulate our young theosophists also. Four of our very eloquent and intelligent young theosophists are here. They are Brother Pradeep, Sister Kritika, Sister Monica, and Brother Aditya. Yes. Darshan, sorry. I welcome you all, and I'm not going to take much time because time is very short. Only 1 hour is given to us. So still, everyone is permitted to speak at least 15 minutes and share their views. I hope, my dear brothers and sisters, you will entertain us with your inspiring views and speeches. First of all, I like to request Sister Kritika to come and share her views. She is the biodata of our participants are very big, but in a nutshell, I will let you know. First, Kritika Goel is an engineering graduate who has pursued her BTech in mechatronics from Banasthali, Vidyapith, Rajasthan. She is a native of Ghaziabad and a young member of Prayas Theosophical Lodge. She was introduced to Theosophy through Sister Subrolina Mohanty, her mentor. She is a trained classical dancer. She likes to travel around the world and explore new things. She is a quick learner and enthusiast who likes to participate in public speaking and debates. She has participated in youth camp at Bhavali and other places, actively taken charge of coordinating camps and events of younger members and anchoring of meetings. She is a regular facilitator and moderator in Young Indian Theosophists group, and she has even talks and moderated meetings at various lodges, including the Indian section. So I request Sister Kritika to come over here and deliver her speech.
So thank you so much, sister. First of all, before beginning, please pardon me if I may not sound very clear because I'm having a very bad throat. So thank you so much, everybody. This is my first offline talk in the Indian section, and I'm a little excited about it. I am privileged that I got this opportunity to share my thoughts on such a beautiful theme, brotherhood. Dear brothers and sisters, in our yesterday's and today's lectures, we learned many new dimensions and aspects of brotherhood by our very dear eminent speakers. So I will not talk about what is brotherhood, but I would like to throw some light on the various ways and means of bringing that to a reality in our daily lives. Now, for any layman or for any child, we all are children of God, or man is a social animal, so has to live in harmony with others, or we should tolerate and respect others' views. These are very commonly used phrases and statements we hear and use very frequently, right? Now the question is, whatever we believe, do we follow that? Or whatever we just follow, do we believe it in true sense? I have stayed in hostel for 4 years. I have seen people from various corners of the country staying together. But then I have also, if I have observed correctly, I have seen people who have just fit into anything, any circumstance, any situation. No rigidity, absolute acceptance, abundant love, and compassion for others. I think these are human behavior which are definitely driven by certain belief system, certain kind of upbringing, and certain kind of values, definitely. But then, this is one very sweet, sugary side, right? And maybe this covers a very little portion of the majority, because in my hostel days itself, I also came across to mean, jealous, bitching around at the back like people also who display absolute non-brotherhood sense. I believe the establishment of brotherhood can't be like buying vegetables from any vendor on the street. To me, it is all about how comfortable you are from within to see, feel, or establish that oneness. We must remember that the world is not led by competition, but by cooperation. This misconception has to move out. Brotherhood doesn't only mean to unite any caste, creed, race, and all the different groups. But as they say, charity begins at home. Similarly, for this concept to turn into reality, it should begin from your homes. Brotherhood should be inculcated and practiced right from where you live. Because to grow a tree, you need to plant a seed. And what better place can anywhere be than your home itself? So now, I'll not waste any more time, and I'll share some ways to practice on regular basis to take change, begin right from here. Starting with the first point, tolerance. So I recently heard about a girl killing her father, murdering her father, and she ran away with a boy of her age. And if I tell you the age, I'm sure this point is worth implementing. She was a 14-year-old girl who killed her own father. I'm sure many of us have come across people, or even ourselves, saying, I won't tolerate this nuisance. But then I ask you all, what do you mean by nuisance? What do you mean by tolerating? Working together of such diverse society, the one quality which is most needed is tolerance. What lubricating oil does for a machine, tolerance does for our heterogeneous society. It prevents friction, counteracts disruptive tendencies, and allows the working of the whole organism to function smoothly. But we ought to know what real tolerance is and distinguish it from its pseudo form, which is so often mistaken for the real thing. If we differ from another person, we may recognize of contempt in our attitude, which prevents us from understanding his point of view and causes some kind of antagonism which in our subconscious mind is present. This is not the kind of tolerance that will do in our mutual relationships, and that can bring about a harmonious adjustment to the different elements that have to be fitted together for the carrying on of our work. The tolerance that we need implies a very clear recognition that every soul is divine in origin and is unfolding its life in its own unique way, treading its path, which must necessarily be different from our own. If we really feel this way and not merely concede the principle in the abstract, then there can be no place for any open or veiled contempt of hostility in our attitude towards our fellow members. But on the contrary, there should be a certain amount of reverence and sympathy, whether we agree or differ in our point of views. We have to oppose others. We should do, but do without malice in our heart. In the spirit of an agent of the mighty plan who has to carry out the dharma of his position as he sees it. If we see faults and even vices in others, we should not feel any repulsion. The friend is unkind who speaks only of the things which please and flatter us. But there is not mention of our shortcomings for the fear of incurring our displeasure. The parent is unkind who indulges the child in all its wayward whims, leaving him to learn self-discipline when it is thrown upon the world. We should try to reach the divine life which is imprisoned in the undeveloped and uncontrolled bodies. And in the spirit of comradeship, we should make an endeavor to help our brother to get rid of the impediments. It is only this kind of broad, all-embracing attitude which really deserves the name of tolerance, and which can ensure the welding together of such diverse elements working in perfect harmony and bent on achieving a common purpose. Now, the next way I would like all of you to jot down, not on the papers, but in your hearts, is cooperation. To bring about far-reaching changes in the modes of thought and outlooks prevailing in the world, mere tolerance, necessary though it is not sufficient. What is wanted in addition is the attitude of active cooperation, the readiness and the capacity to work with people of all kinds, of temperaments, please pardon me, and modes and modes of thinking in the pursuit of a common goal. We cannot do away with these differences. We cannot always choose our co-workers, our colleagues, and yet we have to work together. So there must be a spirit of eager cooperation and the desire to give our fellow workers all the help and moral support they may need in their work. This desire to help all the people should not be allowed to pass into that phase where it becomes interference. We should not let other people do their work without our interference all the time. We should let them do it their own way, even though we do not consider it the best possible way under the circumstances. To be always ready to help where help is needed, and yet to have no desire to interfere is an attitude of mind not easy to acquire, but it has to be acquired by every worker who wishes to qualify himself for the privilege of working under the guidance of elder brethren and to establish brotherhood. Now, the next point is sympathy. Most of us are so much absorbed in our own troubles, in our own difficulties, that we are hardly aware of the tremendous suffering that exists in the world out there. Not only abnormal times like the present, like the COVID pandemic, but even when everything is outwardly bright and prosperous. Even awful calamities in different parts of the world, which unfortunately come every now and then, fall to stir our feelings and to evoke from us a sympathetic response. Take war, take pandemic, or any XYZ. Millions of people get wounded and die in awful agony. Millions of homes are destroyed, and women and children and old people are left without any support, physical or emotional. But all this suffering leaves practically unaffected those who have not passed through the ordeal and hardens those who have. Even in the normal times, the suffering that prevails everywhere is colossal if we take the trouble to find it out. But it does not generally arouse our sympathy. If it did, we could not remain indifferent, but would want to change the conditions which make such unnecessary situations and which make people suffer. And if we go into the causes of the chaos and suffering that exists in the world and really want to change these conditions, then only we would realize the value of theosophy and the necessity of applying the truths of the ancient wisdom to the solution of our social and economic problems. So we see how when human sympathy is adequately developed, our life will automatically adjust itself to the work which has to be done for bringing about better conditions in the world we live. Without this real sympathy, brotherhood is likely to degenerate into a mere intellectual dogma which does not inspire and does not move our heart, and therefore makes all our outer activities sterile and ineffective. The last point, and most important of all, is love. For in everyone and in everything there is good. In everyone and in everything there is evil. Either of these we can strengthen by thinking of it, and in this way we can help or hinder evolution. We can do the will of the Logos, or we can resist him. We must be so fitted with the intense love that we are ever on the watch to render it to all around us. Not to men alone, but even to animals and plants and all the other microorganisms. We must render it in small things every day, that the habit may be formed, so that we may not miss the rare opportunity when the great things offer itself to be done. For if we yearn to be one with God, it is not for our own sake. It is that we may be a channel through which his love may flow to reach all our fellow men. God is love, and whoever abides in love abides in God. He who is on the path exists not for himself, but for others. He has forgotten himself in order that he may serve them. He is as a pen in the hand of God, through which his thought may flow and find for itself an expression down here, which without a pen it could not have. Yet at the same time, he is also a living plume of fire. raying out upon the world the divine love which fills his heart. And if I have not bored you, because I am talking very seriously here, I would like to share a short story with you all. On the farm in the heart of India, there lived a farmer and his wife. They were rather poor, but earned their living by collecting milk from all the farms in the area and sell that in the market in the city. One day, like all the other days, the farmer set off to the work. He fed the oxen and attached them to the cart. Everything seemed to work so smoothly until the front wheel started to speak. I am so great. Look how well I am made. The best iron bars have been used to shape my wonderful round frame. The wood is still in brilliant condition after so many rides, and see what a beautiful pattern I make in the earth. Without me, this whole cart would not move an inch. You are terribly vain, dear wheel, called one of the wooden planks. Without us, there would be no cart. We planks are holding the whole cart together, keep the milk from falling, and offer our farmer a place to sit. Well, maybe, said the wheel. But after all, I and my 3 wheel brothers are the most important part of this cart. Are you sure? Spoke a little voice. Who is talking? The wheel replied, pretending not to have heard it. It is me, the screw. The screw? The wheel asked and burst out into laughter. You out of all the parts? You are so tiny. We can barely see you. You are really not at all important. You are not even moving. You just sit there with your bold friends and do nothing. Nothing. We will work hard, turning day in, day out, carrying you lot through fields and forests. But a tiny little screw like you should not even talk. Those were very harsh words coming from the wheel. Luckily, they did not make the screw angry, but gave her an idea. She would teach the proud wheel a good lesson. At the next curve, when all those heavy milk cans leant against the wooden planks, yet again, the little tiny screw. She pulled together all her strength and turned around her own axis. After some time, she had finally twisted around so much that she fell into the grouse without making any sound at all. That very moment, 2 planks that have been attached to each other through this tiny screw became loose and gave in to the heavy load of milk cans. One milk can after the other rolled against the loose planks and hit the ground with a terrible noise. The planks loose, and more and more and more until more wooden planks started to crack and the entire cart collapsed in itself. The farmer turned around in shock, but too late. He was thrown out of his own cart, landing in a poppy field nearby. In a shock, "Goodness, what happened?" he shouted. Planks, wheels, milk cans lay scattered all over the path. He took off his head wrap and scratched his head. How will I get this mess together again? It did not take long to align the wheels and put the frame into place, but there seemed to be something missing to keep the lot together. Where are those tiny screws and bolts? The farmer shouted and started looking for the little silver parts. He searched for many hours, combing through every tiny bit of the grass until he finally had all the screws together. Thank God, he said, picking up the last screw from the ground. Without you, I would never be able to put my cart together again. Well, the sun started to set, the cart was finally rebuilt, and the farmer set off to return home. After all, most of the milk cans were empty and he had nothing more to sell. I was foolish, said the wheel. I was boasting and showed off how great I am when really all of you are needed as much as I am. Only as a whole, all of us together, we make this cart work. And now, because of me, our poor farmer has lost all his weekly earnings. I'm so sorry to have you made all feel so bad. I can now see that however small you may be, you are needed as much as the rest of us. The screws and planks, the bolts, and even the milk cans felt really happy that the vain wheel has now finally come to its senses. And from this day on, the dear farmer never had any troubles with his cart anymore, ever. Thank you so much, brothers and sisters, for hearing me out. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kritika. You had explained nicely how to make brotherhood a reality. I hope what you have talked will come to reality. Thank you very much. And our second speaker will be Sister Monica. Sister Monica Vakare is a doctor. She's a dentist and she hails from Maharashtra. And she has been a member of Theosophical Society since 4 or 5 years now. She was introduced to Theosophy by her mother, who was a member of Theosophical Society, and she got a platform to grow herself on a spiritual level. The journey continues since then. In her words, my insight in Theosophy so far has been very surprising and liberating. My study has not only been through the books by the masters, but also through the interactions and observations that I did through study camps, meetings, online discussions. It helped me to shift my perspective towards life, world, and humanity. Humanly desires for the better. I consider myself blessed to be a member of Theosophical Society, and I will make the best of it in my capacity. So, I invite Dr. Monica to come.
Thank you. Yeah. So without taking much time, let's directly proceed towards the topic. And yeah, already pardon me if any mistakes I commit, and I'll try my best to, meet the standards set by all of our elders. Now, the topic given to me today by the Indian section is religion decay without brotherhood. Now, starting ahead with the basic definition of brotherhood, we are all discussing about brotherhood since yesterday, so I don't think we need to repeat it. To state it in just one simple sentence, it would be Vasudeva Kutumbakam, that all of the human beings, including all of the beings that are alive, we all are a family. So that is what brotherhood is about, okay? And as theosophy in itself has in one of its objective that we have to, establish a nucleus of brotherhood. So that has always been our propaganda. Apart from that, as we know that theosophy is the comparative study of religion, philosophy, and science. So through theosophy, we are obviously studying religion, and not just one religion, but literally every religion that is present in this world. Now talking about the cause of decay, okay? Now, decay means, we all know that decay is disassociation, that something is breaking down, okay? Now, we have to talk about why religion, as in one single religion or multiple religions, are constantly breaking down. Now, in my personal capacity, I would like to recognize the reason of religion decay to people's overemphasis on materialistic aspirations, which obviously, implies the lack of spiritual connect. Now, people, we all follow certain traditions, certain rituals religiously, but we seldom ever get into the deeper meaning behind all of it. Like, why in the first place are we performing all of those rituals? Why does religion ask us to do that, right? And often these religions are performed as some sort of transactions. We all go to the temples or mosques or church to, ask for our wishes to be fulfilled. So all of these rituals are performed as some sort of transactions for our prayers or wishes to be fulfilled. So we can clearly see that this states how our motives are very much materialistic driven. It are driven by materialistic aspirations. At the same time, certain religious practices have caused more like disharmony rather than, bringing people in harmony. As we all see, there are n number of wars going on. There's constant conflict. There are religions that superimpose onto each other. There are people who are trying to convert people into other religions. So all of this is disharmony. And the general public, the general human always wants peace, right? So this disharmony is somewhere affecting the humanity very much. This disharmony is one of the reasons that people are losing faith in religion. The religion is not that peaceful that it has always been. So, after losing faith in the religion, what people tend to do is they tend to stick to the rationals that are good enough to stick their own materialistic needs. And which is why the true purpose that was towards the enlightenment or, the ultimate truth has been deviated. That is not the thing. And I'm not saying that, people do it intentionally or something. We all know values, we all know morals, we all know what religion teaches us. The point is that it becomes tough to follow. We can all ask ourselves that even when we know what our religion tells us, are we doing it? Are we exactly following what our religion want us to follow? So there is a statement from Mahabharata by Duryodhan. So he said, Janami dharma nachame pravritti, janami adharma nachame nivritti. Now what this means is, he himself said that I know what religion is, I know what religion wants me to do, but I'm not able to do it. I'm still not able to do it. And I also know that what religion is not, what it tells me not to do, but I still cannot recreate that tendency in me to not do it. So I know it is going to be tough, but what we have to do is we have to bring it from within to follow what our morals and values are. I would just, like to narrate a short story that was given by Shri Paramhansa Yoganand. Like, there was a lot of prejudice in this church. So, and there was a Negro as in a black person. So, a janitor, he was a cleaner in the church, and he always wanted to, sit with the whites in the pews of the white church to pray to the Jesus, but obviously he wasn't allowed to. So, there was this minister, he was a good person. He was like, okay, one day I would let you sit. But he never could fulfill that promise, because other people threatened them to leave the church. Right? So after trying everything, he was crying out loud to Jesus that, please tell me, Jesus, why can't I sit in the church? Why can't I? The Christ Jesus came down and he said this. I want you to focus on this, that he said, well, you shouldn't be grieved at all. You should not be grieving because, see, this church was created, 3 years ago? And I myself have been trying to get inside for 3 years, so what are you grieving for? So this states that was a place where, because humans have created the place so materialistically that even God can't enter that place. Why are we grieving to enter that place, right? So this also, somewhere gives us that this is one of the reasons that we are forgetting one basic thing that every religion teaches us, that is humanity. If you cannot treat each other with humanity, I don't see why God would, come and reside in that place. So this is also one of the reasons. And one more point that we need to take in consideration is we are human beings. We have senses, we have intellect. We have given the capacity to think for ourselves, to think for the good and bad. So at this point, why are there a lot of people who simply, tend to follow the herd? We are told something and we just simply, without questioning it, without understanding it, we just simply tend to follow it because someone else, like our fathers, our mothers, or our families has told it, right? So following the herd is not enough. What is necessary here is that we ask that why are we doing it? What is the ultimate truth that we are looking for, that we are seeking? So now that truth is self-consciousness. I mean, it would start from the self-consciousness. That is the basic. Now, in my perspective, self is unlimited. But what we have done is we have limited our identity to our name, to our family, to our body, to our image, to our position, to our jobs, to our caste, religion, creed, and everything, right? We have limited it for ourselves. Now, this is one of the biggest obstructions in the brotherhood, that we have limited ourselves, or we have associated ourselves with some specific identity. We have to let go of that. Only when one dissociates from this limited identity, he can see that you and me are just one. If I let go of the doctors association, if I let go of that I am a doctor, I would not see me and an engineer differently. We would be on the same page. That's how it is. We have to let go of each and every identity that we hold. Now, I would say, as I said, that we have to let go of our name, our image, our family, our everything. Then what remains? So in the book From Who Am I by Sri Ramana Maharshi, he says that if I'm none of this, then what am I? Only when you'll remove all these tags, then you'll reach to the question, who am I? And that is the crucial question, that who am I exactly? And that comes with the awareness. Now, awareness is the only thing that remains for us to know. Now, there's one more book by Oneness with All Life by Dutton. In his book, he has stated that only by awakening you can know the true meaning of this world. Awareness, now what awareness is, when we are lost in thinking, we cannot reach to awareness. When awareness takes over from thinking, instead of being in charge of your life, thinking becomes the servant of awareness. Another word for it is presence. What presence is? It's consciousness without the thought. Okay? Now, what is the relationship between the awareness and thinking? Awareness is basically a space in which thoughts do exist. When that space has become conscious of itself, and your inner purpose is to be awakened. It is simple as that. Your inner purpose is an essential part of the purpose of whole, the universe and its emerging intelligence. And obviously our outer purpose can change with time because we're born, we're living in this life, we have responsibilities to follow, we have families. So obviously our outer purpose is to serve our family, to take care of our elders and all of that. So our outer purpose can change from time to time, but our inner purpose is to know, is the awakening. And that is the basis of true success. Now, what remains is the light of consciousness in which perceptions, experience, thoughts, and feelings come and go. That is being, that is deeper. When I know myself as a whatever happens in my life is no longer of absolute, but only a relative importance. Now, moving ahead, when we say that, okay, when we have asked the questions of who am I, and we move towards the self-awakening thing, is we realize that that is what the ultimate peace is. The spirit, our spirit is released from its imprisonment in the matter, and you realize that your essential identity is formless. This body is not the only thing that we are living for. Now, moving ahead, talking about how religion and brotherhood are interconnected and directly affect each other in every way possible. Let's see. So, Ma'am Annie Besant, in her book from The Brotherhood of Religion, has stated that there is one God, one nature, and one religion, which all has originated from one single wisdom religion, and it was instituted by elder brothers of humanity. Now we all know that all of the religions definitely stand on some basic grounds that are like returning good to the evil, humanity, tenderness, love, dutifulness. Apart from this, let's go into, some specific aspects of each religion. So what does Hinduism says? Okay? Hinduism says that it says dharma, the law, order, harmonious, dutiful growth, the right place of each, right duty, right obedience is what our Hinduism says. Apart from that, Hinduism also says one more thing. Jnaneshwara has stated this: "Je jya karanchi vyankati sando daya satkarmi rativalo bhuta paraspare pado maitra jivanche." Now, what this statement is that this tendency of dividing, this tendency of judging someone superior and inferior and then dividing into various parts, this tendency needs to be eliminated from the society. Like, as we see, there are a lot of wars going on right now. So Hinduism does not say that we need to finish the people who are dividing each other, but we need to finish that mindset that is dividing each other, and not the people. People need to come together, stay together. We all friends, we all one family. We all originated from one light. So that exact thought of division needs to be eliminated. That's what Hinduism says. Now, if we move towards Buddhism, let's say Buddhism. So Buddhism says wisdom, knowledge, all embracing, wedded to perfect love, service of humanity, basically a perfect compassion for each other, and the gathering of the lowest and weakest into tender arms of Lord. That's what Buddhism says, which is also one of the crucial elements. Now, what Christianity says, it says self-sacrifice, okay? And remembering that whenever one human spirit crucifies, and it lowers the nature and raises to the supreme, there the cross shines out. What does Islam says? Islam says that the youngest of the great faith, it says submission, self-surrenderance. So that is what Islam suggests, to the will that guides the world, and see that will everywhere. So it cannot see the little human wills that live only, and they all blend into each other. Now, as we see, we just saw the Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, all of them give one or other very important points, and we cannot afford to lose any of them. It's not like we cannot hold on to just Hinduism and go through it. I mean, others are also giving us very, very important teaching. So we cannot afford to lose any of these words, summing up the characteristics of each great faith. So what I personally think is, rather than we recognizing the differences in the religions that are given, why not we recognize that what we may learn from them, rather than what we may criticize? Why not look to the brighter side of it? Why not look to the positive points of all the religions that are taught to us, right? Now, without taking much time, again, it is said that for all teaches the same truth, all are the channels of one life. Every scripture that is in this world repeats one message, because there is only one great brotherhood of teachers, and each who comes forth from it speaks the same language. No matter the elders who come from which religion, they eventually speak one language. They speak of peace, they speak of love. So I would like to conclude my lecture with saying this, that all religions are not rivals and should not be haters of each other. They are children of a common parent, giving out for the benefit of mankind and the truths that they have learned in the ancestral home. There is a real brotherhood of religion, and all who study religion of the world must recognize their identity in his teachings. To comparative mythologists, all religions are equally false and outgrowth of ignorance, because as we say, religions are somewhere made out of humans according to their convenience, which is why it is said that they consider the religions false. To a theosophist, all religions are true and all the outgrowth of the wisdom. Each religion has an equal right to every truth, and none may claim aught as this exclusive, like Mine, not thine nor his, which means that it is just mine, not some other religions, but rather the true word is mine because thine and his. So with this, I would like to conclude that as theosophy is the cornerstone of all the religions, let's make theosophy the cornerstone that unites all the walls of the religion and lead it up to the new one religion for the world of brotherhood. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Monica. You have given insightful points on religion decay without brotherhood. So our next speaker is Brother Pradeep. Brother Pradeep, MS, is a master's in biotechnology, working as a business manager of an organic products company and also a professional consultant on hydroponics. He is a third generation theosophist and an active member of Bangalore City Theosophical Lodge, Karnataka. He was born in a family of theosophical members, hence naturally raised in a theosophical environment. As an active member of TS, he was invited by many lodges in Karnataka state to give lectures on different topics and to their members on various theosophical topics. He is also an active member of Young Indian Theosophical Group. They meet every Sunday online with various activities. He has given many lectures and conducted study classes to this group. All the videos have been uploaded to YouTube in the YIT channel regularly. Whenever you open, you will see him. Anyway, I invite him to speak on brotherhood without distinctions. Welcome, Brother Pradeep.
After Professor Krishna's talk, having 4 young theosophists to speak, it's something like those tiny herbs struggling to grow under the shade of these huge banyan trees. But I'm sure we all are trying our best to be those tiny little drops that fall upon you after a heavy rain. Dear brothers and sisters, the topic today for me is brotherhood without distinction. When Brother Pradeep Mahapatra called me and gave this topic, I felt a topic of 100 years old to be spoken by young people in front of all seniors who have deliberated these talks, speeches, discussions, symposiums on this topic for decades. And should I speak about this topic to such learned people in the audience? But I also felt maybe it's an opportunity given to us to rethink these ideas, to go back to these ideas of our objectives of Theosophical Society and to see them with a young mind, with a perspective of a young mind. So all that I'm trying to do is to share my views on this topic, brotherhood without distinction. I still rely upon statements made by Dr. Besant and Krishnamurti ji to support my arguments. But all that I make is purely my own feeling. Maybe I'm wrong because you all are equal to my parents, so you may forgive me if I'm wrong. But you may also give me a chance and start thinking about the points which I mention in my talk. Our first objective of the society clearly says to form a nucleus of the universal brotherhood of humanity, a nucleus of the universal brotherhood of humanity without distinction of race, creed, sex, caste, or color. So this is the distinction, these are the distinctions, the list of distinctions that have been given us in the objectives of the society itself. And these decades, so many decades, we all have been attending theosophical conferences, meetings, conventions. I'm sure, without any doubt, all of you, all of us, by now, we have learned how not to distinguish a person based upon his religion. At least that we have learned. We have also overcome the caste system in our country. We know how to make friends and brothers and even relatives from a different caste outside than us. We have already passed that state. We all have learned how to give equal opportunity to women, which was not there few decades back. So we learned the brotherhood without distinguishing between men and women. And we all have learned how to welcome foreigners, of people of different races into our societies, to welcome them to see our country, to visit our country, to live here. And we all have learned how to live with foreigners, because many of us have gone to foreign countries, been living there, learning those cultures, sharing our Indian culture with them, teaching them what is Indianness. So we all have done these for years. But brothers and sisters, has that universal brotherhood, the concept of universal brotherhood, has come to reality? Do we ask this question to ourselves at this stage? Apart from learning how not to distinguish people based on their religion, caste, race, color, and sex, after passing all these stages, has that concept of universal brotherhood has come to reality? Do we feel brotherliness, brotherly love with any individual whom we meet all of a sudden in a train while traveling to Varanasi here, or on a flight, or while walking in these busy lanes of Varanasi? When you encounter a stranger, a person pulling a cart, did you feel that brotherly love to him? So, what I'm trying to say is, brotherliness or brotherhood is not something which is a destiny to achieve. It's not a state, a final state that we all are trying to achieve. No. What I see is brotherhood is the journey itself. We are going towards that spiritual goal, and that journey itself is brotherhood. So it's not a destiny that we achieve at the end, but it's the journey itself. We need to travel through these paths of brotherhood. So if we see universal brotherhood as a daily or something that which is constantly upon us, a consciousness that should always remain with us throughout the journey, and it's not something we achieve with a process at the end of it, then, dear brothers and sisters, we see a new challenge every day for brotherhood. Universal brotherhood has a new challenge in each one of us every day, every moment. So therefore, I call upon you to see, for all these challenges that have been creating every day, and that is trying to act as an external force and pulling away that nucleus you are trying to form, that nucleus of brotherhood that you are trying to form in your heart. You are trying to form a nucleus of brotherhood, but every day there is a new challenge that is acting as a opposite force that is pulling it away. You are trying in your method, you are trying in your own ways, whatever you know, to feel that brotherly love to everyone. But every day there is a new challenge. So, identifying those new challenges and taking this as a continuous process is what I feel the need of the hour. So, there are many challenges. I can list hundreds of them that has come in these days. Of course, it's very easy for people to blame everything on science and technology. So whenever we say the world has changed, the life has changed, people first say, the first sentence itself is, with the advancement of science and technology, my dear brothers, the life has changed. So it's very easy to blame science and technology. But as a student of science, I don't blame science or technology for what has changed us. It's not the science and technology that has changed the life. It is we who are using them. And we use for our own selfishness, and that has changed. If we can see this challenge posed by new aspects of the society, and if we can identify the challenges that the threat that they possess for the brotherliness that we have with other person, and if we use this in a proper way with brotherly love towards others, no science or technology can ever come in the way to feel the love, the brotherly love to any other person on this earth. We talk about equality. So for many years, this inequality remained still as it was, probably in a less measure compared to a few decades back. There are many governments, many states, many kinds of governments, many kinds of politics that has framed different policies in order to bring about equality on this earth. But have we achieved? We have been speaking about this inequality, we have been speaking about achieving equality in various forms of policies for many decades now. Have we achieved that? No. In fact, in some cases, it has gone worse. So to improve the economic status and the educational status of every individual is the only very famous method of reaching that equality that we all are dreaming. So whether it's a capitalist state or a socialist state or a liberal democratic state or a monarchy or anything else, the basis of every policy is to bring about equality in the society. People work on education and work on to improve the economic status of those families. So these are the two things that we all are working for so many decades. But still we are not able to achieve that equality. So we are lacking behind somewhere. So if we think, what are those forces that are still not allowing us to reach that equality? And as theosophists, we all have that opportunity that we have been taught this brotherhood. And that brotherly love in every individual towards every other individual is the basis on which we need to work upon to improve the education and the financial status of other people or the other societies. And if we don't have that brotherly love, all that we are trying to do is just like performing a yagna or homa on the river, on the waters of Ganga. So no matter how much fire we put, how much fuel we put, the yagna or homa will not be complete. So we need to develop this basic concept of brotherliness or the brotherhood in every individual in order to achieve that equality, which the governments or the policy makers have neglected. They think giving some freebies, giving some free seats in colleges will improve everything. No. That in fact, has divided students, has divided their minds, has caused enmity between them. Without teaching a brotherly love towards, for the students, how to feel everyone in his college or school as his own brother or sister, and if we try to treat few families, few students from a weaker section of economic background, to treat them so that they come up and they become equal to others, and definitely that will cause a division among students. Once there was an instance where a free laptop was given to college students, and how did they distribute the laptops? Based on the economic background of the families, based on the caste to which they belong. And they started distributing the laptops. Just because a student, he is from a different caste, he didn't get a laptop. That caused enmity among students. That caused division. So, in the name of creating equality, bringing about equality, in the name of to achieve equality, we are giving policies, we are trying to work on this education and economic phase of it. But in fact, we are dividing people. We are causing enmity. But before that, if we can teach in college and schools about that brotherly love, if we can teach them to know about each other, if we can teach them to know the economic situation of his fellow student, to see his house, to see the struggles that he undergo to come to school, and then after that, if we are given a laptop to a poor student, the other students will not feel bad because they know. They know that he and she cannot afford it, and hence it was given by the government. So I should not feel bad. My parents can afford it, and there won't be enmity. So what I'm trying to say is, the first thing that we need to teach is this brotherhood, this brotherly love. And then make policies keeping this as a foundation. I'm sure many of you have watched this movie, English Winglish, a very famous movie of Sridevi. And I'm sure most of you have related to your own mothers and sisters, the struggles that she goes through for not speaking good English. I ask you all, have you ever done this mistake? Have you ever distinguished or separated someone, or have seen someone with a different angle just because he cannot speak this foreign language that is called English? Maybe he is good in his own mother tongue. Just because a student, a college student, or anyone, a school student, could not speak good English, or just because a mother of a student comes to the principal's chamber and she cannot speak good English, what is the kind of treatment that we are giving to them? Or just because your own colleague in your offices, near your houses, if they are not able to speak good English, how do we regard them? Have we not done this mistake of measuring the amount of knowledge that a person can have just because he spoke good English? So, lack of education, lack of opportunity, and the circumstances through which a person has grown has made him to speak whatever he is speaking now, to write how much ever he can, to read how much ever he can. But if we start distinguishing, if we start separating people, if we start ill-treating people based on the education level, based on his education level or his knowledge level, then what is that brotherhood that we have achieved? If you have not seen the movie English Winglish, please go back and see. And I'm sure everyone will relate to that. So, it is that respect that every human aspires for, in spite of his ability to speak or write or read. It is that respect a mother aspires from her own daughter. It's not from the society, from her own daughter. She is expecting that respect from her daughter just because she can't speak English. So when you don't have that quality or culture in your own house, then how do you treat others, other women, when you go out to buy some sabji in the market? So, dear brothers and sisters, as we are trying to reach this equality, to achieve this equality by various policies, it is the duty of every theosophist to teach this brotherliness before any policy can become success. So it is, we have this great duty upon us to carry this brotherliness into the society and teach our children first at home how to treat someone who is different from you, who is not so well versed as you, who is not studying good as you. And then, finally, to conclude, just one more minute, because what I said is just my own views. Madam Besant has quoted, men are at every stage of evolution, from the most barbarous to the most developed. Men are found of lofty intelligence, but also of most unevolved mentality. Madam Besant says, in theosophical terms, we all believe in reincarnation, we all believe in Atma, Paramatma, Jivatma, and all these things. We know that at every birth we take all these bodies, we come back to this earth, we gain knowledge and experience and wisdom, and then the spirit leaves the body. We all know that. These have been told many times. And at every birth the spirit develops wisdom and grows. But what we should identify is, not every human being on this earth is equally as evolved as your own spirit. There is a spirit inside you, there is a spirit in each one of us, but there are their own different levels. Every spirit in this process of evolution is not at an equal state. It's not like all students of equal age get an admission to LKG or 10th standard or PUC. No, it's not like that. In this school of what we call a society, spirit or the soul at different levels of evolution are living together. Your own wife, your own parent, your own mother, your own children born after you may not be as evolved as your own soul. That's what Madam Besant is saying. Men means it's not men, both human, men and women, are at every stage of evolution. So there are people, when you meet someone, maybe his soul has not evolved much as yours. So you don't have to feel that ego. Or when you meet someone like Professor Krishna, you don't have to feel so nervous or let down just because he is much evolved and he has good knowledge. But still, to feel brotherly love is important. J. Krishnamurti says, is brotherhood a matter of progress? Is brotherly feeling a matter of evolution? He takes a different angle. J. Krishnamurti says, brotherhood is not even the process, not even a matter of evolution. If I say I will feel brotherly, means you are not feeling now. He says, brotherliness is love. So if you say, I will be brotherly, you will love. So love is the only thing that, according to Krishnamurti, that it's not a process that you achieve after 10 or 30 or 100 years. It's something that can happen right now. So thank you so much for listening to me, and thanks for this opportunity.
I am thankful to you, Brother Pradeep, for your magnificent points on the topic. So we have listened to engineer, to doctor, and to microbiologist. Now it's turn of a scholar who is a product of BHU. He is none other than Darshan Jha. At present, he is assistant professor in a college he hails from Bangaon, Bihar. He received fellowships and International Geographical Union Award for Young and Early Career Geographer at 33 International Geographical Congress held at Beijing. He published many articles and edited some books also. His very big biodata I have got, but even then, just it's enough for him, and I request him to come and deliver his speech. He will speak on self is visible in everything, and everything is visible in self.
Thank you. Namaskar to all. The topic of today's talk is self is visible in everything and everything is visible in self. In this campus of Annie Besant, I would like to start with the words of Annie Besant. To know God, we have to know man, or to man, we have to know God. To study the universe is the study of both God and man. The universe is only the expression of the divine thought, and the universe is mirrored in man. So the first question is, what is self? Is it ego, or I, or Atma? While the sense of self is a common empirical evidence, but yet philosophers, psychologists, psychiatrists, mystics, and theosophists varies when they explored it, and they not give the common conclusion what it really is. Some affirms its existence but couldn't define. Some philosophers like David Hume and Buddhists deny its existence altogether as a separate entity. Like Hume says, nothing but a bundle of collection of different perceptions which succeed each other with an inconceivable rapidity is a self only. The earliest explorations of the nature of self are found in the Upanishads. For example, Atma or Purusha, that underlines human experience, and Hindu scriptures generally identify this self or Atma with the universal self or Paramatma. At the same time, they distinguish it with I or Ahankara, which produces an illusory self. Christianity also distinguishes between three kinds of self: the body, soma, soul, psyche, and the spirit, pneuma. Psychologists like William James recognized that there was an empirical or phenomenal self, consisting of material, social, and spiritual selves. Sigmund Freud, very famous psychologist, other hand says that they functionally distinguish the conscious ego from the id. It means the instinctive drive, and superego the social conscience. He say that it is a natural, and ego and superego developed at a later stage. As philosophers of Advaita Vedanta say that self is a Atma, or Atma is a real self. Or is Buddhist, it says that it is the essence of the individual, and define it as a pure consciousness that is self-revealed, self-evident, and self-aware. The theosophical view about the self is basically identical with the Hindu and Buddhist views. In 7 Principles of Man, Dr. Besant says, true self is Atma, that experience itself through 6 vehicles or principles, that are spiritual soul buddhi, higher mind arup manas, lower mind roop manas, feelings kama, etheric double link sarira, and physical body, that is a stool sarira. This true self or Atma is different from the reincarnating ego, the causal body, and the personality or the personal self. That is the 4 lower principles. As Dr. Annie Besant says in her lecture, Self and its Seeds, that knowing and understanding the self makes every problem soluble. That which realized clears all difficulties away. that which known bring us to supreme peace, that beyond which there is nothing, and in knowing which we know everything that is and or can be. So, to merge lower self into higher self, we may learn the supreme secret. This supreme truth had been told by Sri Krishna to Arjuna. And it is important that Arjuna was not that time warrior, is not that time the spiritual Arjuna or Jnani Arjuna. He was a warrior Arjuna. And for it is not told for the spiritual purposes, but to solve real life problems. So, when lower self is visible in higher self, as we purify our lower qualities like physical, ether, astral or mental, our every actions, emotions, thoughts make impression in higher triangle, that is individuality, and as we become pure and refined, it gets absorbed in our higher self. Let us go to the beginning of a universe and try to realize what is meant by the self. For the self of universe and the self of man, they are one or different, and in knowing the self, we know that which is at the root of the universe or at the root of man alike. Traveling backward in the beginning, we came to an infinite darkness where there is a no thought, there is a no language, where nothing human or limited may be. It's no name, no word, and no one can define it. Nothing can be said of that. When our rishis go backwards and backwards, when they had reached Brahma, who is without origin, who is one and all, and describe it as Supreme Brahma, or we can call it Par Brahma. There all voices are silent, all thoughts fall dead. And when we try to watch that darkness where nothing and everything both exist, there might be a glimmer through the darkness, a light, which is formless. We know not whence it comes nor how. This light is the only light, without limitations. And there our thoughts may rest. And our real thoughts is possible, as Mundo Nishad said, luminous without form, without origin, without life, without mind. Now there is a question. What is the meaning of without life, without mind? He out of whom everything of the universe originate has and is nothing? Yes, because mind implies more than the one, and of that is one, because mind implies separation, and there is a no separation. Madame Blavatsky, in dealing with this, which is beyond all consciousness, said, it is not because it is so much, it is less, because it is so much more, because it is deeper, wider, all embracing. The secret doctrine, in the secret doctrine, Madame Blavatsky explained it and quotes from the divine parameter. God is not a mind, but the cause that mind is, not a spirit, but the cause that the spirit is, not a light, but the cause that light is. And Dr. Besant explained later in the International Convention in 1901, I think, the mind of man thinks, but in order to think, it must remember the past, it must realize the present, and it must look forward for the future. But in Brahma or self, there is a no past, nor present, no future. There is a one eternal now and no distinguishment of time or place of succession of a state. In simple words, we can say that the miserable concepts of objective phases are not sufficient to measure subjective whole, such as an axe for a fine carving. So we can say he is the one of which everything is to be builded, and that is the self, or the Brahma. It is Ishvara, the Lord, or the self of man, or the self of God. So self is no individual property of any man. The divine essence, which has no body, no form, which is imponderable, invisible, and indivisible. The key of Theosophy, section 7, described it like Helena Blavatsky ma'am says, the self or Atma is the universal all and become the Atma is the universal all and become the higher self of man only in conjunction with Buddhi, its vehicle. Now we can move towards the main question, that how can we understand that self is visible in everything and vice versa. In the secret doctrine, Madam explained with the thought of Chandogya Upanishad, Eko Ham Bahusyami. There is a beginning of the universe. This is the manifestation of universe within the divine form. The Bhagavad Gita, when Sri Krishna appeared in Vishwarupa, Arjuna see everything, every living, non-living thing in this Vishwarupa. We cannot separate one single thing from the Supreme. It is the self of all, exists in all, and is all. I would like to quote a simple Uddalaka and Svetketu story, where salt Uddalaka dissolved salt in a water and said Svetketu to differentiate or separate it. He said that there is a not possibility. Then he said that taste from the top, from middle, and from bottom. And all time he said that is salty. And then Svetketu said, Uddalaka said that this is the Brahm. Is it? But we can't separate from Jivas. We sometimes say Atma, then we say Paramatma of self. They all are identical. I would like to quote in the last minute from the famous Advait Vedanta philosophy, which is quoted from the Niralambopnishad, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Napada. That means Brahma is only real, Jiva is nothing but only Brahma, and all things are the effect of Maya, which is an illusion. And our scripture says that Yatha Pinde Tatha Brahmande, Yatha Brahmande Tatha Prinde. Meaning, as it the individual, so is the universe. As is the universe, so is the individual. And various examples of given for this, like the space in a pot versus a space of cosmos. They are not different things. They are same, identical. But only an arbitrary separation is there. So I would like to conclude with the last, like these two things. I would like to quote the famous Hindi poet, like नीचे जल था ऊपर हिम था, एक तरल था एक सघन, एक ही तत्व की प्रधानता थी, उसे जड़ कहो या चेतन. And this brings to lead us to the Mahavakya, like Aham Brahmasmi, and this lead to Prajnanam Brahma. So the ocean is not the webs, yet the webs are the ocean. They are within each other, inseparable. The Vishwarup vision shows that interconnectedness of everything with everything else. Nothing is outside ourselves. The universal consciousness cannot bear the idea of duality. We must go beyond space-time consciousness, due to which persons and objects look external. The individual self or Jivatma is mere reflection of singular Atma or Supreme Self. It is not an individual subject of consciousness, but the same in person and identical to the universal eternal Brahma. So we can conclude again the sentence of the Annie Besant, that universe is the just expression of divine thought, and the universe is mirror in man. In the same word, the self is visible in everything and everything is visible in self. So we pray that Ashto Ma Sadgame, Tamso Ma Jyotirgame, Mrityur Ma Amritgame. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Brother Darshan. But I am sorry for unavoidable circumstances. We had to cut short your very valuable lecture. Anyway, somehow, near future, we will listen to your lecture again. Thank you very much. Dear brothers and sisters, I thank you all for attending this program, our session, and I hope you will continue to stay here. Another very interesting session is coming now. And I thank and congratulate our young theosophists and for their grand participation and with every success in their journey. I am sure YIT group will be able to cross the boundary of caste, creed, race, religion, color, and sex and spread the essence of universal brotherhood among the masses, because universal brotherhood is the need of the hour. Thank you. Thank you all. Sarve sukhinu bhavantu, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pachantu, ma kachit dukha bhag bhavet. Thank you. The session is closed.